Okay, so in this kind of counterpoint, we have a new kind of dissonance that comes up. And we call that chordal dissonance. Now, what that means is that it's a dissonance that results from a chord, and in particular, from a seventh chord. Now, remember, I said earlier that one of the new things that we're going to be allowing now in this style, in this century, is seventh chords. When we have seventh chords, that makes a dissonance, most notably a particularly gnarly one in our 5/7 chord. So let's look at it. So we're in the key of F here, right? So let's do dotted half notes so we can really see this. Okay, so here's my F major triad. Neat, right? Now let's make a 5/7 chord. So a 5 chord in the key of F is going to be C. C, E, G, and let's add that seventh. Okay? Now that creates a dissonance. It's allowed in this style, but we actually have a few dissonances here. We have a seventh, a minor seventh between the C and the B flat. We have a major second if we inverted that and had a B flat to C. So kind of the same, but slightly different. We also have a tritone, or a diminished fifth, augmented fourth, in between the E and the B flat. So both that seventh and that tritone are dissonances that would have not been allowed before, but we're going to allow them now as long as they resolve in a very particular way. So that being, let's break it apart into the seventh, and then I'll leave a spot to resolve that, and the augmented fourth, the tritone. So this seventh tone, not the interval, but the seventh scale degree here, it's actually the fourth scale degree. Let me rewind here. In the key of F, this B flat is 4, right? F, G, A, B flat. So this is 4. So this 4, in this case, always needs to resolve down to 3. Okay? That's the key to the resolution here. That 4 has to go to scale degree 4, has to go to scale degree 3 in a 7th chord. Now, in the augmented triad, scale degree 7, this E right here, right, has to go up to tonic. Okay, now what that leaves us with is, now a 5/7 chord wants to resolve to 1, right? So we want this to be a tonic chord. So this C, if we're going to F, could stay a C. That's probably the best way to do it. And this B flat could go down to an A, making the major third of our tonic chord. Okay, so the 7th of the chord, which is the 4th of the scale, has to resolve down to the 3rd. So just remember, 4 goes down to 3, and 7 goes up to 1. And those are tendency tones. Those are tones that I think we've talked about tendency tones before. A 4 usually leads to a 3. A 7 usually leads to a 1. So let's go back to looking at our actual 7th chord. Let's just get rid of these for now. So how does our actual 7th chord want to resolve? It wants to resolve like so. This B flat, we know, has to go down to an A. So let's put an A there. This E has to go up to an F. Okay, so those are going to collapse in on each other. Now from here, we can resolve the rest of the chord. This C, because we want this to be F, A, C, right? Same as this here. So this could stay a C. This B, or this G, kind of got absorbed in there. We could say it's doubling. We'll have a more detailed explanation of what actually happens to that G once we start looking at SATB voiced stuff. But for now, let's just say that it got swallowed up in this thing. We don't need all 4 notes necessarily. yet. More on that in the future. This could work. The problem with this is that we now have a tonic chord that is not in root position, and if we really want it to be a good cadence, which we'll talk about more later, we want something like that. So we want this C to drop down to F, and then we want to get rid of that C. How can I get rid of that C? Oh, there we go. So that looks kind of funky, but it actually works okay. We have F, A, and then a low F. We could get a C in there. Actually, we could probably just cheat it in there. As long as it feels like this B flat goes down to this A and this E goes up to the F. So let's hear that. Let's start back here. All right, so that sounds like a pretty fine resolution. Okay, so that is called a chordal dissonance. Dissonance as the result of a seventh chord. They're okay as long as you resolve them right.